Today, you will learn biofuels and the future of algae resources. You will learn about what biofuels are, the history behind biofuels, what algae biofuels are, how algae biofuels can be improved, and what the issues are, and many more things about biofuels and algae resources. With the controversy of using fossil fuels in our society, biofuels, on the other hand, are made from animal products. They can also be from sugars or starches. There are many different kinds of biofuels. Biofuels have been the growing alternative for fossil fuels with its renewable energy. Biofuels are an alternative, cleaner way instead of using fossil fuels. Although biofuels were meant to be the future of our society, issues with converting natural green forests into farmland to make energy and the inability for the crop biofuels to filter carbon as effectively, there needs to be a different biofuel that can effectively fix these problems. Even so, biofuels have been used for centuries. In the 1800s, biofuels were used to ignite stoves, lamps, and ovens. Later, in the early 1900s, Henry Ford planned to use ethanol and peanut oil, both biofuels, to power his cars. Biofuels have been in the past society more than we know, and have been an idea that is being improved day after day. However, the discovery of large petroleum deposits lowered the price of fossil fuels, making them the most popular fuel source for decades. None of the fuel options at the time were optimal, so we needed to find a more sustainable, environmentally conscious method of harvesting fuels. Even though fossil fuels have been around for years now, it is starting to hurt the environment, with its great amount of pollution to the atmosphere, making it unhealthy for the ecosystem. Still, different countries today use biofuels to meet their needs. For example, Brazil processes sugarcane into ethanol, and Europe commonly offers biodiesel, a fuel made from palm oil, as an energy source. As of late, biofuels have gotten more and more accessible, even though it has some negatives. This bar graph in the middle shows the different biofuels and how much our world is using them in the years 2010 to 2013. With the wide variety from recycled corn oil, animal fats, other vegetable oil, and soybean oil. Soybean oils have been the more preferred biofuels to use in those 4 years. Soon enough, studies revealed that in some cases, the process of growing the crops, making fertilizers and pesticides, and processing the plants into fuel consumes more energy than it provides. Jane Goodall, a renowned anthropologist, warns that the harvesting of palm oil and sugarcane will eventually wipe out rainforests. Other conservation groups argue that the corn used to create ethanol will be more useful as a food source than as a fuel. With the problem of using crops for biofuels, it is taking away from the fact that these crops can be used for food. The problem with this is that people need food to eat, and we are using it to put fuel in our motor vehicles. Microalgae, a different kind of biofuel, can produce up to 60 times more oil per acre than land-based plants, eliminating the need to clear out native forests. Additionally, the ability of these photosynthetic microorganisms to convert carbon dioxide into lipids greatly exceeds that of other crops. Microalgae can be the future of biofuels. With its renewable source and its big production rate, it can help eliminate fossil fuels and crop biofuels. Although it is a relatively new and unresearched technique, algal biofuels can be used the same way gasoline and petroleum are in cars. Due to its efficient carbon dioxide consumption, Algae can absorb the majority of carbon dioxide that is released from the cars that burn its fuel. Since algae is a plant source, it can turn carbon dioxide in the air into energy. With that, it can make the atmosphere cleaner by taking the polluted air. There are two ways to grow microalgae: open pond growing, where one uses open ponds to grow algae in hot, sunny areas of the world to get maximum production, or vertical growing, where algae is placed in clear plastic bags that are stacked high and protected from the rain by a cover. While the former is less invasive, the latter exposes the algae to more sunlight, making it grow faster. These two effective ways have been used by many different organizations. An organization called Sapphire Energy uses a more simpler open pond method to produce algae, as seen on the left, while another organization called Algae uses the plastic bag method, which is also known as bioreactor system, which these two both use certain temperature conditions for algae to produce them, as seen on the left. Once the algae is harvested, its oils can be extracted through an oil press, which forces out oils out of the plant through force, resulting up to 75% of the plant's original oil. The hexane solvent method, which involves squeezing out the oil and mixing the leftover algae with hexane to glean the last bits of oil from it, resulting in up to 95% of the plant's original oil. And the supercritical fluids method, which where algae is pressurized and heated to change its composition into a liquid. In this method, carbon dioxide is mixed with the algae, turning the algae completely into oil. The method can produce up to 100% of algae's lipids. In some extractions, some parts of the algae that is considered waste can be used. These rich biomass from the algae that is not being used can feed plants or even marine animals. Though it may seem like a perfect solution, algal biofuels are still somewhat difficult to maintain. If the water is slightly too hot or too cold, the algae will not thrive. Additionally, phosphorus, a mineral crucial to the development of algae, is being overused by humans and is starting to decline. Although algae needs to be in a certain range of temperature to grow the algae, you can use any kind of water, even wastewater if needed. The graph on the left shows the range of temperature algae can be grown in. It also shows the growth rate of the algae depending on the temperature. If the water is at least above 45 degrees Fahrenheit and under 105, it will grow. The best temperature to grow algae would be around 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Though there are some challenges involved, they can still be overcome. Algae can be grown in mild weathered places. For example, California is famed for its consistently mild weather, which is why Central California is considered a farming capital. Also, algae farms can be built near farms and use the livestock's waste as fertilizer, thereby reusing what would normally be disposed of. With these problems, there is a solution. By making farming communities in places like Central California, where the weather is perfect for algae growth, it would make it cheaper for them to grow algae with all the other farms in the area that have unusable resources like animal scat for fertilizer. It will be an easier accessibility to get these resources. With the mild weather that California has, it can help the algae grow in warm weather. Also, since California has a coast, it will be easier to put oil fuel from algae on cargoes to give to the East Coast for them to use. Now, here's an overall recap of what we have just learned about biofuels and algae biofuels. With the carbon dioxide pollution in the air, algae biofuels can utilize it to create viable lipids to run motor vehicles. The problem with fossil fuels is that it gives off too much pollution. By using algae biofuels, the reduction of pollution will decrease, making the atmosphere in our ecosystem cleaner. Algal biofuels are the future for our ecosystem, and by spreading awareness, it can become the best fuel option for our future because of its renewable nature and high production rate. Using these suggestions, farmers can spend more resources and time harvesting crops for consumption and not for fuel. Also, we won't have to worry about clearing natural forests and killing ecosystems if we are more mindful of land based biofuels' effects on the world. If we strategically place microalgae farms near livestock and crop farms, we can reduce waste, therefore preserving the environment. United Airlines also has been looking into the use of algae biofuels to run their planes, and if we keep spreading the word, more companies like them will start to jump on the train with this great idea. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something about biofuels and algae resources today.